All of the food we eat and much of the clothing we wear comes from plants and animals that are raised on farms. Farms are different in type, in size, and even in name.
Welcome to Barn Talk. What happens at the barn stays in the barn, but not today. We're going to let it all out for you guys. Today is going to be a Barn Talk Hot Topics episode. We're going to talk about all the crazy crap going on around the world, whether it's in the United States or nation or global. We're going to give our honest thoughts and opinions on it. If you get any value from the show, share it out with who you know. The more that you guys do that, the more the show grows, the better guests we can get on, the more episodes we can make. You can also feel free to leave a review on Spotify or Apple. That gives our show a lot of credibility and helps us get better guests on, higher level guests on. And we're swinging for the big ones, trying to get them here to Southeast Iowa to have a conversation with us. Last thing you can do to support Barn Talk and what we do here on the show is you can go support our direct-to-consumer meat business, farmergrade.com. We're running a special right now for Memorial Day coming up, Memorial Day weekend. For every $100 spent, you get a free pack of hot dogs, and if you spend over $250, you get a free pack of Wagyu burger patties. So if you want to get some meat for your family for Memorial Day weekend, you're going to grill out, check out farmergrade.com. That helps us out here on the show tremendously. I don't know, I kind of flew all up through that pretty good.
You know, the farmer grade hot dogs are wickedly good.
They are good, and they're good because they're not full of a bunch of crap. You know, it's the real meat from the actual hog.
But you know what's crazy about it is, like, I got to admit, I wasn't expecting, a hot dog's kind of a hot dog.
You're right.
And I wasn't expecting great things out of those hot dogs.
I wasn't either, to be honest.
And then
I was a little worried.
And I'm a
Oscar Mayer.
No, like a big fat hot dog guy,
Frank's.
Whatever, ballpark, whatever.
Yeah.
And these are more like your traditional, like Oscar Mayer bun length hot dogs. So I wasn't expecting a lot, and they are kind of addictive.
Yeah, they got a good snap on them, and they got a really good smoky flavor. And I was definitely surprised when we got them in for the first time and gave them a whirl. So I recommend. So spending $100 getting a free pack. There's about 8 in a pack. So
yep, pretty
damn good. Put up on the grill. So definitely smokes the competition.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, it does. They are. They're damn good.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm happy. Just finished corn. So corn is done.
Corn is planted.
We did it in 2 hitches about 2 weeks apart, seems like. And it was just barely dry enough when we started today, but it was a beautiful day. Plenty of heat, sun out, and ground was perfect for the majority. I'd say we started at noon, and by 2-3 o'clock, it was there wasn't any place that it was
too wet,
little marginal. But we got beans left to go. We're gonna get going tomorrow morning. Hopefully by Sunday afternoon, we'll be done with beans, and then there's a chance of rain on Monday. And it's been a weird. Well, I don't know whether you can say it's been weird, and for a lot of people it's still going on because there's plenty of places that it's still wet and guys just kind of getting going. It's been a challenging year to get a crop in. We've had it just pretty cookie cutter the last about 5 years.
Yeah, I would say I can't remember a time where it's been this big of a pain in the butt to try to get in and start planting. So
1972.
Yeah. I wasn't around for that.
Our neighbor wheeled in while we were loading the planter today, and he's got a fair amount left to do. But he's one of those guys. He's not going to go till it's perfect.
Yep.
And so he had time today to drive around and see what everybody else was doing. And I was chatting with him a little bit, and He told me it was nothing to worry about because in 72, you had to carry a log chain on the planter tractor because you knew you were going to get stuck, and we mudded it in, and it was all right. We got some rains, and
Well, at least we're not there.
Yep.
Thank God for that.
Yep. I don't remember 72 very well. It was one.
The thing about it is there's been no steady rain. It's just been storms.
Yep.
Hard storms, a lot of rain at one time, not just like a steady all day rain.
Yep.
So,
yeah, the last rain that we got after we planted half our corn, we got just a couple of tenths, and then it started getting dry enough, and we were speculating about whether we were going to miss the storm that was coming, and we didn't miss it. We got an inch and 4/10.
yeah.
So that's kept us out for a while. It did. And so we're kind of in a weather market, which brings me to hot off the press, the market update, courtesy of the Cat's Grain in Washington, Iowa. These are off the close today. So March corn closed at $4.51. Oh, sorry, that's not March. I don't know why I have that on there. It's actually the July contract closed at $4.51. Locally, $4.51. And $4.60 in Cedar Rapids if you want to go sit in line at ADM. Beans, $12.26 for July. And Burlington had $11.97, and Illinois side, $12.19. Wheat, $6.52. Bean meal's $368 a ton. Hogs, $96.60. Cattle, $181. Feeder cattle, $246. $2.46. However you want to figure it, by the pound or by the hundred. Milk, $21.10. And I think that's a June contract. Crude oil, $80.30. Bitcoin starting to work its way back up again, 67,000. Tesla finally out of the shitter, although not just can't get a lot of fire going on the old Tesla stock. They're offering about 1% interest, ultra low interest on the Model Y if you'd like to go finance one of them. So they must be eating some of that because I don't know where they're getting money that cheap. Gold, $2,418, and silver's $28.50. So I'm excited about the silver market because, as you know, I've contemplated many times just throwing it out because silver doesn't ever do anything. But I think that $28.50, that might be like a
high.
That might be a high.
Record
I don't know
high
what
on
the
the
high.
show.
I don't know when the last time silver was that high. So all you guys out there that just got bags of the old nickels sitting around, you got to be pretty damn happy.
We got enough silver bullets.
Do we?
I don't know. Maybe.
Got a few
somewhere.
Got a few stashed somewhere.
We could maybe.
You should
not.
always have some silver bullets. You should have some garlic, some holy water, some silver bullets. You know, have yourself covered in case the undead start to walk the earth.
Yep.
And, you know, we're going to talk about the shit today. As crazy as this world is, I don't know. Maybe it'd be a good idea to have yourself a little crop of garlic out there. I don't know. The undead may not be out of the question.
Or the vampires.
Yeah, well,
could have an I Am Legend situation happen.
I don't know. I tell you what, I just hope that if we do get the undead, that they're the slow ones.
Not the World War Z ones.
Not the World War Z ones.
Nope.
Because I got no chance. No chance.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
I'm just hoping that I have some rare disease that they can smell and they're not interested.
They're not interested. Great movie.
It is a great movie. I need to watch that.
They need to make a sequel or prequel, something.
Yep. The guy standing at the door of the infirmary, just sitting there chomping.
Zombie.
That's a very haunting. That's a very haunting scene.
It is.
Beyond Meat, $7.26. I just had to throw that in there.
And if there's anything that's going to turn us into zombies, it might be that.
Look at that. That was a great tie-in.
Yeah, well.
You know, this is kind of a late night. This is kind of a late evening episode because...
It's 9 o'clock right now.
Yeah.
We don't typically do it this late, but we had to.
My bedtime chime kicked in on my watch.
Yeah, that's when you know that you guys matter. When you start getting into Tork's bedtime routine.
I'm not even hopped up on Mountain Dew because tomorrow night we have to go to a wedding shower, and I really wanted to pour myself a whiskey, but I thought, you know what? I'm not going to try to do a double header because tomorrow night there'll be a lot of toasts and celebrating and a lot of celebratory gin bucket being flowing. I'm making about a 4-gallon batch of gin bucket, so plenty of time for that tomorrow. So this is all natural. I'm just running on pure excellence and adrenaline. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, I think we kind of went over planting. I mean,
a
lot of progress. But next Monday, there's supposed to be rain, so everybody's kind of around this area looking to get it all in. And shout out to the Nups for being able to do some custom work for people to get it in. That's pretty cool. They put that out on the good old Facebook. That was very generous of them. I mean, they're probably not doing it for free, but that's pretty cool.
They got time to do it.
They got time to do it to help out a neighbor. So that's what makes farming in America and small towns awesome. So, everybody's trying to get it done for sure. But we'll just see. We're going to be good. I think we'll be fine. If we have a good day tomorrow, we should be able to get everything done and in, and that rain will be and the heat's already came. It's supposed to be hot tomorrow.
Corn will be up in 3 days.
Yeah, it'll be shit. We'll be good. We'll be tasseling by 4th of July. It'll be great.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us. The Iowa Corn Promotion Board invests in the future of Iowa's farmers, just like us, through their contributions to the U.S. Meat Export Federation. To grow beef and pork exports, they've helped Iowa farmers and livestock producers gain a positive return on their investment. In fact, studies show that the U.S. MEF programs for beef exports value equated to $397 a head, while pork exports equated to $64 a head. Since 1979, the Iowa Corn Promotion Board's investment in the U.S. Meat Export Federation has helped carry out market development activities in more than 80 countries. By adding value to every kernel of corn through pork and beef production here in Iowa and then exporting to the global table, corn farmers see $174.84 Iowa corn acre return on their investment. For more information on how Iowa corn checkoff dollars are invested to increase your farm's profitability, go to iowacorn.org. Now, let's get back to it.
The market can't decide what's going on. Today early, I think corn was up 12 cents and it closed down 5 cents because Nutrien came out and they threw out their own estimate for the corn crop, the acreage, I think the trade's guess is like 90 million acres, and they think it's going to be 87. They think that we're going to lose that many acres, and nobody knows. I don't know. I think we're kind of right on that bubble where if we get enough gaps of good weather, people are going to get this crop planted, and we're not going to have much shift on acres, but you never know. And on the fringe, when you get up in the Dakotas and out west, I don't know. We'll just have to see where it all shakes out. But corn was a little bit higher than where it's at now, because there was a lot of speculation about planting delays and what it was going to do to the yield and all that. And this week we've been working off a little bit. So I think until planting is done, until we get all the crop in the ground, it's just going to run on pure speculation. And then when it is in the ground, then we're going to start speculating about something else.
There's always speculation. We're always thinking about, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down?
Well, when I was running cash flows early this spring, I was using the 475 number because I was like, that might be, I don't know, that might be as good as you can hope for. And now that I'm feeling a little more optimistic, although, as we'll get to, somebody somebody read a poll somewhere in the Biden administration, and they decided that they better try to look a little harder on China. So they threw a bunch of tariffs on China, and that's never good for ag, because the easy thing for whoever you're throwing a tariff on to do is go, well, I don't think I'm going to buy any beans, or I'm not going to buy any corn, or I'm not going to buy any pork, whatever. We haven't seen that yet, but the trade is, I think that story's floating around out there. So when we don't have anything else to trade on, they'll probably start trading on the chances of whether or not we're going to get retaliatory
boycott the ag market.
There
Don't
you go.
buy
Thanks for
corns.
reading my mind.
Yeah, boycott the ag markets. Don't buy any corn, soybeans, pork, any commodities from us.
Yeah. All in all, though,
I don't even know if they can do that, though. Who else are they going to get it from?
well, the other thing about the
Can they feed their population?
no, they
I
can't.
mean,
They
but
gotta
don't
buy
they
it.
have a lot in storage, though?
Well, they do, but they got to buy it from somebody. I mean, that's all there is to it. We're pretty much to the point anymore where they're gonna buy it from somebody, and if they buy more from South America, then probably that just means that we're gonna sell more somewhere else. But the markets, how that plays out in pricing, they can trade it. They can trade it whichever way they want. And a lot of times, bad news is bad for the market. So if China does pull out of purchasing our crop, then it'll probably be hard on the market. So it's a crapshoot.
What else is going on in the economy?
Well, it ain't getting any better. So I think the last hot topics we were on, I talked about inflation, how a lot of people were thinking inflation was going to ease, and then it actually went up, and the next month has rolled, and guess what? It's worked up a little bit more. And at this point, I don't think there's any chance that we're going to see an interest rate cut before the election. And I would be very surprised if we don't actually have a hike in interest rates. And it doesn't really matter because the 10-year bond that a lot of mortgage rates are set off of, it keeps working up regardless of what the Fed does. Because, I mean, what's the Fed rate? Is it 4%? I feel like it's like 4%. Well, a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or whatever, you could probably go out and get 10-year money, or I don't know if you could get 15-year money maybe, and you were probably looking at an interest rate, and we talked about this when we had Paul on, but 7%. Well, now then it's 8%. And the Fed rate hasn't changed. It's just there's more uncertainty in the bond market, and so that's driving up interest rates. And I saw a statistic. So credit card debt is now at $1.12 trillion. So the average credit card balance is $6,200 now. Because people are stretched, because your gas is higher, and we touched on this too, but I don't have the statistics on this, but I would love to know, and I'll look this up. There are a hell of a lot of people out there, and I don't know why, but that have mortgages that were on an adjustable rate mortgage where they were locked for so many years.
Like 3 years.
And then they adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you were on that game and they're adjusting anywhere near now.
It used to be all right because chances are you were going lower.
Right.
But now you're going higher.
Yeah. And
you can't do shit about it until that length is up.
Yeah. Right. You can't get out of it.
No.
And now then you're sitting there and you may be looking at interest rates that are 3, 4, 5 points higher. Well, probably 4 points higher than where you were at. So the average home, did I put that in here? I don't know if I did. Yeah. So the average home price in the United States now is $495,000 with a mortgage payment of around $3,000. And that payment can vary anywhere from $2,300 to $4,500 depending on how much money you put down and where you got it locked in.
That's wild. That's wild.
So the average American salary is $64,000. So that's a take home of about, what is that, like $5,300 a month, something like that. I mean, that's before taxes. That's if you just take it, divide it by 12, something like that. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I think that's just everybody that I talk to, and
you can't live off that salary, especially if you don't, like, we're blessed living in a small town and we see inflation just like everybody else, but it's, we don't have asset values that New York City has or Chicago has or suburbs have, even cities north of us, you know? And so the cost of living's a little bit lower, but man,
still going up.
It's tough to be a young person right now. I encourage anybody to go look up Scott Galloway. He's a really smart guy. He's a little bit more on the left leaning as far as his politics, but very real guy, very, very intelligent guy. Started a lot of businesses, invested in a lot of businesses, had a really great life journey. I've listened to a number of his podcasts now, and he's coming out with new books. He's coming out with a series of books about life and money and making money and how to, live in a better life, all that. But, it was crazy. We had Paul on and he talked about how we won't ever see interest rates go back to where they were when I was growing up. Right. Where that was a standard, like, oh shit, 3%.
Yeah.
What, 2.8%, 3.5%. Like that was like, oh, this is easy money. Like you don't and like for me, that's your perspective. Oh, this is great. Like cash is getting loans easy. The interest ain't shit.
Money doesn't cost you.
No,
anything.
It don't cost you shit. And now hearing that, and you hear Scott Galloway talk about the same thing, like in 2008, they bailed out the banks, but they didn't bail out the American economy. Mm-hmm. And you let the economy kind of tank a little bit, and people got out of business, and it allowed young people to come in. And okay, if that mom and pop bakery went out of business because the economy tanked, the young person was able to get an opportunity to claim that bakery and make its own, whatever, just an example. COVID happens, that same situation happens where it's a massive production pretty much stops goes down tremendously in America. The economy goes to shit, but they bail out the economy. They bail out the American people, and the large corporations kind of get a break, and all the stimmy checks come, and you've inflated the dollar even more, and you didn't give young people the opportunity. Like, you pretty much held the economy up. Mm-hmm. And stocks went up, everything went up. And he said, I was already wealthy, and I became even more wealthy during COVID. Yep. Because my stocks, my investments, it just made the richer more rich. Mm-hmm. And all the young people, they're going to have to pay for that. Yep. They're going to have to pay for what you did and essentially bailing out the economy. Yeah. And he's the same way. Like, you're not going to see interest rates. We lived in the greatest economic period from, I don't know, what do you say, 10 to 20?
2000
to 20?
I mean, yeah, when you think about...
like, that was that's going to go down as one of the great... He has said that, he thinks that's going to go down as one of the greatest economic periods in history. Yeah. Because of just how well the economy was, how well people were thriving, how much money was available for people to spend, and how it was all just going back into the economy. But now we're at this point where all this money's been printed. They bailed out the economy. Chances of young people being able to create value or start businesses or start a life, like, you're going to eliminate the middle class, and the middle class is what runs an economy, is what a thriving country needs. And he talked about how, like, the middle class isn't a common thing amongst other great civilization. Like that, America takes the middle class it's for granted. Like, that is the greatest thing that has ever happened to the American economy, is having a middle class.
Yeah.
Because all those people in the middle class made good money, spent a lot of good money in the economy.
Yeah, stimulated the economy.
Big time. And you're losing that big time.
Yep.
It's the rich have gotten richer, and
the poor have gotten
poorer, and the middle class
is getting shrunk.
Yeah. And the other thing you said is, young people, if they don't feel like they can get ahead, that's when you start to lose what makes your country, like, they start losing faith in their own country. They start losing the fabric of what makes America America and what makes them Americans. And I mean, he did a TED Talk anyway, and it was a really good TED Talk. It's like 18 minutes long. He goes through all these important statistics that'll make you kind of shit your pants a little bit, but very smart guy. And I think what he has to say, you can see the logic in it. You can see the logic in it, and he's very real. He's authentic, which I like. So I just thought that was an interesting thing I wanted to bring up since we're on the economy, and I think it's very telling that Paul on here, that's been in finance, our last guest, he's been in finance his whole life, or most of his life, right?
Right.
Saying, we'll never probably see interest rates come back down to where they were. It just makes me think, damn, I wish I
started earlier.
I mean, I couldn't have, but it's like, oh, as a young person, it kind of sucks to hear that. But
yeah, it's really interesting. I was listening to a guy about 3 days ago, and he was talking about how we're in a really weird place because we have printed all this money, but at the same time, the financial institutions are going to go through one of the biggest reshuffling that we've seen in decades, because the majority of wealth in this country is held by the baby boomers. And they are all transitioning out of, so when they got to the age where they started looking at financial products and investing and doing all that, there was so much money, and it goes with what you were talking about, because they made so much money, and then they got stymied, and they got all this free money, and we printed money. Well, that generation, they took that money and they invested it, and there was so much money being put into the investment side of our economy, and into stocks and into bonds and into venture capital and all of that, that literally these financial institutions, like, they were thinking up new products because they didn't have anywhere to put all the money that was out there. And so we went through all that, and now then that generation, they're retiring, so they're getting conservative, so they're pulling all that money out, and then they have all these houses. They have all these houses that are paid for, and the house may be a little bit too big.
Well, but the value of it,
the value's huge. But then they look at what they're paying for to buy something smaller, and a lot of them look at that and go, well, that's just stupid. So they're not selling. this housing market, that's part of the reason why we have a shortage of homes for sale as far as existing homes and new homes. They claim that, there's a shortage of new homes. But we've got this inflated dollar, and at the same time that it's inflated, the amount of money, the amount of liquidity out there is actually kind of shrinking because that generation is taking their investments and they're putting it in bonds and T-bills and conservative investments. And
they're playing like they've always played. Like they're playing like they were when they're they're playing like a logical human would. They see what the times are, and they're going. They're
pulling back.
They're pulling back.
Yeah,
because they're going to hold on to their shit because it's a terrible time.
Yeah, so then that's just adding to the inflation. So you would think that because they're taking money out of the system, that would help cool the economy, you'd say. But actually, it's not that way, because then you have the people that we're trying to reshore. I'm using my air quotes. We're trying to reshore because manufacturing is coming back to the United States because of the uncertainty around the world. So there's this huge demand for capital to do the build out for all this infrastructure that we're adding. And so there's scarcity of liquidity. So that's driving the cost of money up. And that's making shortages of products, which in turns make the cost of the value higher. So then we're just adding more inflation. Mm-hmm. So it's just a really weird time. And I'm sorry that I probably went too long and bored you a little bit. And but
I think
when you sit down and you start listening to people, there are so many dynamics right now in our financial system and in our economy that are unusual, that you can't look back and say, well, this is like this or this is like this. Yeah, there's certain parts that are like something that's happened in the past, but it's never been a time where this has happened and this is happening at the same time.
Yeah, I encourage anybody. I find it interesting, and I think being financially literate is a good thing, and I'm by no means an expert at all. But as a young person, having a little bit of an edge on understanding what's going on and how you can capitalize it or put yourself in a better situation, I'd recommend that to anybody. And there's a lot of conversations happening right now on a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, a lot of people just making content about it. Definitely trust, vet out those sources. But like I said, Scott Galloway, I think, is a great source. And the last thing I'll say about it is just like one of his huge topics that he likes to discuss is just, we got to stop focusing on old people, like this whole Social Security thing. Like if the young people don't get going and we don't get this rolling and they don't feel like happy to be Americans, and the middle class breaks and falls out, like we can be in trouble. Yeah. And Social Security and old people and keeping the wealthy and the baby boomers hoarding all their cash and keeping on to it, it's just not a good recipe. Yeah. It's not a good recipe. So
it's unsustainable.
It is unsustainable. Yeah. It is.
That's
so
100%.
Anyway, last thing, Iowa just passed a flat income tax, 3.8%, no estate tax.
Yeah. Yeah, so they actually I think they actually passed that flat tax maybe in 2023, maybe last year, but it was like 5.25 or 5.75. And we've got a pretty good surplus here in the state of Iowa. And so they have sped up their timeline and they've dropped it to whatever that is, 3.8, whatever. And they got rid of the death tax, and the state of Iowa is actually in pretty good shape. I think it depends on who you talk to, though. There's a big uproar about what they're doing on education, which trickles down to all the counties, because like in our county, as we talked about a couple episodes again,
property taxes have gone up because we can't get any teachers, and the starting salary for teachers has gone up as a response to not being able to get any. And so that's all got to get paid for somehow. And the state has decided that they're not going to be the ones to pay for it because they want smaller government, and everybody that loves smaller government, you can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess. So everything's not perfect, but a flat tax rate is something that, you can make the argument that the rich people pay less and the poor people pay more, but I think everybody should pay some tax because it makes you, if that pisses you off, then maybe you'll get involved. And I think it's a good idea that everybody pays something. So.
There's this video going around the internet right now, just speaking of tax, of this girl that was like, so you're telling me that if somebody gives me $500 or I inherit $500, I have to pay taxes on that $500. And then if I spend any of that $500, I get taxed on the money that I spend of that $500. And then the person that I paid that money to buy those products or those services with that $500, they then have to pay taxes on that too. And she's like, I just don't think we're ready for that conversation yet. That's how she ends the video. Yeah. But it's just like every fucking dollar is just gets taxed like 4 times.
Well,
like it's just insane. It is just insane. Like we've talked about it so many times on the show, but it's just like we are getting so fucking bent over and fucked.
Well,
over and over and over again. Like I just can't even believe. Like when you really step back and think about it, and when you grow up, your parents and people around you always are like bitching about taxes, and you're just like fucking taxes, and you don't really get it until you become an adult.
Yeah,
and then you really think about it.
Yeah,
and like that girl, like it was really refreshing to see a young person sit there and like really talk all that through, and then go, that just doesn't seem right. How is that happening?
You want to know something that doesn't?
And then the problem about it is, the people that are supposed to do good with these tax dollars, most of it isn't helping us out in any way.
It's not spent well.
It's not spent well.
Yeah.
Which just pisses you off even more.
Okay, I'm going to add to your pain.
All right.
So do you know that when you go buy a bottle of whiskey, a bottle of bourbon, 60% of the cost of that bottle is tax?
That's insane.
So when that whiskey goes into a barrel, they have to pay a tax on that. So I saw a TikTok about it. It was a guy, I think he was the head distiller at maybe Brown-Forman. He said that they pay $3 million a week in tax because every barrel that they barrel, they have to pay so much per gallon. Okay, and then when that comes out, so if they let that age for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever, when it's bottled, then at the store, that all gets taxed. So 60% of the cost. And his story was that you know how they say that the only constants in life is death and taxes? Okay, clear back when Scotch, before there was bourbon, before there was America, there was Scotch made in Scotland. And the king decided that he was going to put a tax on the grain that went into a barrel of Scotch whiskey. And he went through the math of how many bushels of grain it took to make a barrel of,
And if you do the math, do you know what the tax was on that? 60%. So all through time, all this time, clear today, you're still paying that. 60% of the cost of a bottle of bourbon is tax.
Does that make you want to get into that business?
No, it totally doesn't.
Pisses you
totally
off.
doesn't. I was like, holy cow. So it makes sense why back in the day, guys that were moonshiners, why that was such a big deal. I always thought, I was like, who in the hell cared?
I know.
Whether some hillbillies were making Everclear. Well, that's why, because they wanted the tax money, because they weren't paying the taxes. And it was such a big deal. Yeah, before we started, we were just talking about some stuff going on. And I mean, I'm serious. There's days that I just feel like we're like in the upside down world, because the obvious shit that is going on, that our politicians and to some degree the mainstream news, if you watch it, I mean, it's so blatant. It's like, staring at a white sheet and it's like, oh, that sheet's black. That's, it's whatever.
It's like, it's theater. We talk about it all the time. It's theater at this point. It's like a Saturday Night live skit. It's real. Like you're sitting there watching these clips. You're just like, it's like when Biden's talking about he's going to debate Trump now. We're going to get into that. He said he wants to debate him twice. And on the video of him talking about it and announcing that he wants to debate Trump, he's like acting like the tough guy.
Yeah. And
it's like, dude, we all fucking know you're an elderly, lost old dude. Like, your front of like trying to act like you're gonna like really give it to Donald Trump is just like, nobody is buying what you're selling, dude.
Yeah,
nobody's buying that. And like AOC and this, I don't know if it was a senator or somebody was she made fun of AOC's eyelashes on the floor, and AOC, like, they got into like they started like chirping at each other and saying insults to each other, and like they were smack talking each other, like they were going to go out back and fight in the alley. And I was like, what in the fuck am I watching right now? Yeah. Like, what is going on? Is this just this is a Saturday Night Live skit? Yeah. And then, it just gets tiring, because it's like the problems, the issues, the shit that all Americans have expressed that are problems that we need to figure out, and that are obvious things. Not all of these things are obvious. Not all these things we know the answer and how to fix them. But some of the stuff is, we feel like, and it's just like, you can scream, you can holler, we can say it on this podcast 1,000 times, but it's like, at the end of the day, you just get tired of it. You're just like, you just do live in the upside down. It's like, dude, this is so obvious, but like nobody's doing shit about it. And it's, at the end of the day, we got to get those kind of people out. We got to set term limits. We got to get back to the old way of American politics, where you go and you serve your country and then you're done. It's not a career. It's not a lifetime commitment. It's not a way to get rich. If anything, you need to be dedicated. Like, that's a sacrifice you put on the line for your country to make it better in whatever way you think it should be better.
Well, it needs to be, we have to get back to having qualified people working for our country.
Yeah, we got to incentivize good people to want to get into politics, which isn't incentivized at all anymore, because
you're incentivized to be a politician first.
Yeah.
We need to get people that
are doing real shit.
Successful businesses.
Real shit.
Doing shit.
Yeah.
And then go do one term.
Get out.
Do 2 terms. I'm fine. You can go 8 years. And you can't get a job lobbying when you're done. You got to go back home.
Yep.
Yeah. There's not much else to say about the Trump-Biden debate. I mean, it is what it is. I want the over-under. Like, I don't know what I would bet. I think I need to go brush up on what the dosage is. But how much Adderall do you think they'll have Joe on?
I think they've waited this long because they already got his clone made. The clone's finally ready.
You think?
Clones finally made.
I don't think Elon.
They got it. They got it figured out. Or Neuralink just got implanted.
You know what? That's what the scary part is. I could see them just giving him Neuralink. It definitely probably be an improvement.
I don't know. It's laughable that he's our president. I mean, it just is. It's unbelievable.
There's all this shit going on at these campuses and these kids that are going to Ivy League schools protesting.
Oh, something I was going to say about the debate. Sorry.
No, go
ahead.
Cut
you off, but last thing. I don't know where they're going to stream the debates on, what media outlets, but
CNN.
Well, I figured that one, but if they were smart and they wanted to really, if they gave a fuck about the American people, they'd host it on 4 different.
Yeah.
3 different freaking networks and allow one bias to be, because we all know CNN, we all know CNBC.
Well, they're going to have Jake Tapper.
Fox News. We all know how those networks lean. So let them lean on a right wing and have them do a debate on a left wing. And have the, what do you call them? Mediators be a little bit left, a little bit right. But that won't happen. They'll make it as easy as they possibly fucking can for sleepy fucking Joe. We already know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The only way that this deal works for Joe Biden is if they can make basically their only hope is to make it legally impossible for Donald Trump to be president. That's their only.
Yeah, they're scared. I mean, that's why he's doing this. If everything was smooth sailing, they would have never
he would
debated
not
him.
debate him.
They would not be trying to debate his ass. No. But they know, they got to.
Yeah.
They have to, or else. But honestly, that could backfire on them even more. So.
And you saw, and what I was going to head to after that was, you saw it here last week. So all these protests have been going on, and Biden, that administration has been trying to tiptoe through that and, be as supportive of the Palestinian protests, but at the same time, not turn their back on Israel. Well, they kind of stuck their foot in their mouth this last week because somebody pushed them really hard about, these protests are all about what's going on in Gaza. And the Israelis have got the Palestinian, they've got their thumb on them. They got them pushed down, and they're trying to close this deal out. There is no place left for the PLO or Hamas. There isn't any place really left for them to go, and they know it, and that's why they want to do this last push. But they were pushing the press secretary about whether what Israel was doing in Gaza was genocide or not, which that's a loaded question anyway, and the administration answered no, that Israel has a right to defend themselves. So now then all the pussyfooting around, trying to give warm fuzzies to all the pro-Palestinian groups, that just went out the window. So they pissed all them off. So I was really surprised that they actually
picked a side.
But I want to say something about this whole deal and I think we said it before, but every left-leaning news operation out there and person on X or anywhere or YouTube that you see, if you did not know geography and you did not know what the Middle East looked like, you would literally assume that Israel had Gaza surrounded and that they had them from all sides. But that's simply not true. That's not
what it is. Gaza bucks up against Egypt. And Egypt is a Muslim country. And if the Palestinians were at all victims in this deal and were great people, because they're Muslims too, wouldn't you think that Egypt would open their border and just let them all in? You'd think they would, but they're not. They're not doing it, and nobody talks about it. No, you will not find a lefty talk about that at all. Why is that? It's like, why don't you talk about that? Well, the reason you won't talk about it is because the only people that hate Hamas more than Israel is the Egyptians, because they let them in once before and they tried to overthrow their government. They hate them. They hate them, and they are rooting back channel, of course, because they wouldn't want it to appear that they were supporting Israel at all. They hate Hamas.
Israel's probably number one on the hate list, then Hamas number two.
I think public, like, to play the game with the rest of the Muslim countries in the Middle East, I think Egypt probably totes the line. But they 100% want Israel to do whatever it has to do to get rid of Hamas. And nobody talks about that. And it is so irritating to me, because I'm like, for that to be the case, that tells you everything you need to know about Hamas. Because here is a Muslim country, and they will not open that border to them. And I just think that's crazy, and nobody talks about it.
Well, Hamas is just the terrorist group. What they'll say is the Palestinians, all the innocent people. Let the innocent people in. Why don't they let the innocent people in? Why don't they let in the Palestinians?
They won't do that because it's impossible to know who is what part of Hamas and who isn't. So they just have decided. Now they're letting aid. They're sending aid in from their side, I think. Now there for a while they had it completely closed off, and I don't know. But I'm assuming they're letting aid in from the Egyptian side. But yeah, Egypt. I just think that tells you all you need to know. And I will also say to all of these Palestinian pro-Palestine protesters, I think you should all just get some credit. You should study abroad. Take your ass over to a Muslim country. Whatever, and
especially the ones running the pride flag and running your mouth and saying, "Go for it." See how fucking long you last.
I'll bet you Princeton will give you, I don't know, 3.5 classes worth to go over there and study abroad. Mm-hmm. And you should do it. And they're a hell of a lot better than the United States.
All that is an attention grab. It's young people with no purpose that want to stand up for something, feel like they're a part of something. It's just like BLM. They're running the gauntlet this year. It's the Palestinian protests. It's pro-Palestine. That's what it is. They're going to run it. They're going to run it till it's dead. They're just going to fucking run it. Just like they're in BLM, just like they're in COVID. This is the new thing. They're going to run it. 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 They're going to act like it's this huge outcry, when I think most Americans are just like, don't give a shit really right now. Our own shit's fucked up. Like, yeah, that's not great. Innocent people are dying on both sides, but let them handle their shit.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have came into Israel and fucked with them in the first place.
Yeah.
And yeah, Israel probably try not to kill as many innocent people as you can. But I mean, it's not our fight right now, but it's the hot thing to talk about. It's the hot thing for young people to jump on and get their media attention, get their attention, get their clicks, get their meaning in life until it's the next fucking thing. Because there'll be another fucking thing that they can stand up for and switch out their flag or their hat or their logo or their fucking t-shirt or whatever. Yep. And it'll just be the next thing. So it's unfortunate, but that's true. And yeah, I mean, I definitely don't like the idea of innocent people dying on either side, but that's war at the end of the day. And Hamas attacked Israel, and Israel's going to stand up for itself, and they're going to do what they think is necessary to eliminate the threat.
Yeah.
And probably some innocent people are going to die because of that. And that's not good. That's unfortunate. Nobody likes that, but that's not our fucking fight.
Yeah.
It's not our fight here in America. It's not our fight right now.
And if you wanted a good sign as to how strong our current president's foreign policy is, when they marched out and kind of gave Israel, tried to slap them on the wrist and told them that they wouldn't support them, they wouldn't sell arms to them or some ship whatever to them if they went ahead with their operation that they were planning in Gaza. Israel just politely said,
Fuck you.
all right, well, we're still going to do it. We'll go it alone if we need to. And you're not relevant, basically. And I thought that was
very
yeah,
telling.
I thought that was kind of like, you know what? You can't play both sides of the fence on this deal, and we know you're bluffing, and we know that you're playing political games, and we're playing for our livelihood and for our country. So, yeah, if that's what you're going to do, that's fine. We're going to do what we're going to do. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I can't think about anything else that's going on in the world. I'm like the kid. I'm like the kid with my thumb in the dike, because everything in my
Thumb in
fucking
the dike.
house.
Thumb in the dike.
You know that?
Never heard of that phrase.
Oh yeah. So like,
My mind goes a completely different place. So you're gonna have to definitely clarify what you're saying there.
There's some kind of like a.
Your generation that's listening just said, "Yeah, I know what he's saying." My generation just said he's fingering a lesbian.
Yeah. Oh boy, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So
Okay, I'll have to be a little clear on that. Kind of like it's kind of an old. It's an old Dutch. It's like an old Dutch, whatever you want to analogy, where. They had all these berms built to keep the water out because it's very low, and they built all these dams and all these berms, and they call a berm a dike. And like
keeping your thumb on the dike is
if it springs a leak, if the water starts coming in, you put your thumb in it.
Yeah.
But the problem is you put your thumb in that, and then if there's a hole over here, you put your thumb there. And then before long, you run out of fingers and places, and
too much water gets in. All right.
And that's my point. I'm like the kid, because in the last, so this is how the last couple weeks, actually longer than this. So 7 weeks ago, my refrigerator quit. 4 years old, refrigerator quits. Still under warranty. Bought a Maytag refrigerator. So I call the appliance guy, and they say, yep, you got warranty on it, but you got to call Whirlpool because, it's from the factory, and then they'll call us, and then we'll come fix it. So I call, and listen to the music for a while, and blah, 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 go through all the stuff. Yep, we'll get somebody out there, get it fixed. So they come out, they look at it, said, oh, it needs this. We'll be back next week because got to order the part. So there goes a week. So then they come back, they bring the part, put the part in. 20 minutes later, the part burns up. Oh, there must be something else wrong for that to burn that part up. We're going to have to take this to our shop. We're going to have to work on it. So they've had this refrigerator for literally 6 weeks, and they've tried to fix it 3 different times. And every time it loses its coolant or refrigerant. So they finally call me and say, can't fix it. It's trash. It's under warranty. We're going to get you a brand new refrigerator. Awesome. Where's the refrigerator? Well, there's none locally, but we're going to have one sent to you direct from the warehouse. Guess how it's coming? J.B. Hunt. J.B. Hunt's bringing it. J.B. Hunt. That's like, I think that's one notch up from Swift. So I don't know if it'll get here. I don't know when it's coming. My wife is getting... And here's the great thing, though. The great thing about it is when we moved into my parents' house, the refrigerator that was in their kitchen, I moved to the garage. That refrigerator was purchased sometime in the late 80s. Still runs like a top. It's in my garage. So we go back and forth 18 times a day from the house to the garage. Because our refrigerator that's 4 years old won't stay running, but the one that we got that's like 30 years old, it runs like a fucking top. So anyway, we got that going on. Then one morning, we're sitting having coffee, my wife and I did a load of laundry, and we're talking, and then we're talking a little louder, and then we're talking a little louder, and before long, we're like, why is that wash machine so loud? Well, every day it got a little louder. So I called the appliance place. No warranty on that. Bought that in 2019. But in their wisdom, different brand of wash machine. I think it's an Electrolux, which I thought was a vacuum, but now then they make wash machines. It's a really nice wash machine. Really like it. Bought it 2019. Bearings out of it. Well, just replace the bearing. Oh, no, can't do that. The bearing is molded into the drum of the washer to where you have to replace that whole thing. So you can replace that. It's going to cost you $900 to replace that with labor. Or you can buy a brand new, exact same thing that you have for $985. So I guess we get a new wash machine. And then I got crazy and tore down an old building that was by our house, and in the process had a little power line issue, and that turned into a concrete project and an electrical project. So no fridge, no washer. Had to do I've got a piece of baling wire holding the conduit for the wire that goes overhead to our house, and praying that doesn't break before the electricians can get the new wire shoved underground. So yeah, I'm like the kid with my finger in the dike.
Yeah, I've been just admiring from afar from my house not too far away, and all I can say is it just seems like craftsmanship just ain't here anymore, man. I mean, everything.
Nothing is made well.
You hear it all the time. They just don't make it like they used to. And it's like that for fucking everything. It's like that for vehicles, appliances, especially appliances. I mean, our freaking washers and dryers in our hog barns,
yeah,
they're not front loaders.
No,
right?
they're the cheapest
ones
that you can get.
They run like a top.
Yeah.
They last. Yep. They wash our shittiest coveralls that we have. Yep. And I don't know if they do the best job, but they do a good enough job for what we use them for.
They smell better than when we put them in there.
Yeah, but it's just like, what happened? What happened? Do all these companies, is it corporate greed where they just are like, let's plan this out and we're going to make a prototype. Let's think about, okay, how can we make this? Is the goal to just get past the warranty?
I think it is.
Once the warranty's up, takes a shit, they got to buy a new one. Is that the goal when they're putting these things together and they're making these prototypes? Just let's get them to that 4-year mark.
But do you know what I think part of it is? Think about this.
Is it labor? What is it?
Well, I think the engineering's gotten so good. Before they didn't know exactly. So they always erred on the side of, okay, well, we need a bearing.
So we might as well get the best damn bearing.
Well, so we're going to use this bearing. This is heavy enough. This one's 1 penny more. Well, we'll just use the bigger one because we don't know exactly what the load is. Well, now then you got everything figured to the gnat's ass. So they have it made exact to it. But I think the other thing is, think about how long people stay in a house. My wife and I were talking about this because it's like, okay, you buy a new house, you live there 3 or 4 years, and then you put it on the market because the value of the house has gone up, and you move, you buy another house. So that washer and dryer and stove and refrigerator and all that, it worked fine for you. Mm-hmm. And then the next people move in, and guess what?
Takes a shit.
Well, or they move in and they're like, oh, yeah, I like it, but that fridge has got to go. I want this. So they buy all new shit. I feel like people don't... On the one hand, I don't think it's made as well. And two, I think the market is kind of gotten geared towards that short term. Because when I called the appliance place about the washer, he said, oh, yeah, I see you bought this in 2019. He's like, well, that's pretty good. Like 5 years was pretty good on a washer. And I was like,
oh, man. It's crazy to me. That's just nuts. I remember I saw a video on Twitter that was just a video of an old refrigerator made in the 70s or I think the 70s. And I showed you it. Or maybe it could have been even the 60s.
I think it's 60s.
Could have been 60s. Damn, features on this refrigerator are fucking awesome.
Had a butter warmer in it.
Butter warmer, had a drawer that swung out that had like a it was it was
the
circular,
whole shelf pulled out
and it made a circle.
Yeah.
Had a place for your milk.
Yep.
Had all these awesome features to it and looked really well made, not cheap, not plastic, like really well made. Yep. And somebody restored it and it's running like a top. And it's just like, there's just no craftsmanship in any, like, they just don't, like that person sat down and said, I'm going to build the best damn refrigerator I can possibly build.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and it's just, is that what people even think about anymore? Is like, I'm going to build the best damn thing I can for the American consumer.
It's not.
Fuck no, they don't. The appliances especially, they're terrible. They're fucking terrible. They are terrible.
Well, there's so many examples that I literally saw a
refrigerator,
video.
Your first thing that goes is the ice machine. That's fucking gone.
Yeah.
Count on 2 years of that thing working.
Yeah.
Before it's shit. You're not even, you know how many times I've gone to my friend's house? Ice machine. Doesn't work.
Yep.
Doesn't work. We were one of those houses.
Yep.
Our ice machine shit out 2 years of having it.
Yeah, the only thing that saved us in this deal, saved my wife's sanity was like 2 summers ago, 3 summers ago, our ice maker in that refrigerator worked fine, but it didn't make ice very fast. And we were having family in town, and I was just wheeling through the aisle at Walmart, and on the corner they had one of these portable little ice makers. I think it's like Frigidaire, but I'm sure it's probably made by who knows what. And it was on sale, and I don't know how much it was. But it seemed like, in my mind, I thought, that's pretty reasonable. And I bought the darn thing. And holy cow, it's worked like it
makes me want to get one.
It has worked like a champ.
It's
because
nice.
Through all this, we don't have a refrigerator in the house, but we do have ice.
Yeah.
Every day we make a pot of coffee and we fill the ice machine, so we got ice. And so that has kept the sanity. But I saw a video today, a mechanic, and he was working on a Nissan Titan pickup. And it was 3 years old, and the seal was leaking in the transmission. And the transmission, to buy a transmission, $12,000.
Good Lord.
But all it needs is the seal, the front seal. But guess what?
Don't have the part.
Can't get
find
any.
it.
There aren't any. So you either buy a whole new transmission or
Buy a whole new truck.
or buy a whole new truck, or just keep putting tranny fluid in it. And the thing is, the mechanic was like, he called the dealership and said, okay, well, what's the time frame? And they said, no,
There's not one.
there's no part number for it. Like, they don't make it.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
We should drink. We should.
We should drink. I feel like we've done a lot of bitching on this episode. It feels good to just let it all out sometimes, though.
Yep.
It does.
You know what? It's not all bad. The weather's been beautiful, despite the rain. It's been a really, you know what? I've really enjoyed this spring because everything's actually green and growing, and the weather's been pretty nice. When it hasn't been raining, it hasn't been too hot.
Family's healthy.
Yep, everybody is doing good. Farmer Grade's doing well. Sawyer's Brothers business they're just swamped, and we're going to a party tomorrow night to celebrate a couple friends of ours that are getting married, and that'll be a good time. And I will probably overindulge, but we're having breakfast casserole. We've already planned. We're going to have breakfast casserole ready for Sunday, so I can feed my.
Just let the grease run down your face.
Yeah.
You want to just get that grease in there to make sure it soaks up all that alcohol. Yeah. That's the game plan.
There probably will be more than 1 cup of gin bucket partaken at that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to partake for sure.
So
I haven't had a drink in a while, so
Sawyer and I have got, somebody's got to fill David because we're going to be planting beans. So, I don't know. We're going to have to draw the short straw, or I'm going to try to find somebody that can come run the seed buggy so that we don't have to be the one driving home to, refill the planter.
Yeah, either your mom's going to be mad or Kat's going to be mad, one of the two. So.
And let's face it, by the end of the night, they're both going to be mad anyway.
Yep.
So
kind of how it goes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. I want to say a bunch of positive shit right now to make you feel better, but I don't know if I have the words. We do live in the greatest country in the world. Things could be a lot worse.
Yep, and you know what? This is what it comes down to. Each and every one of you got to do the best you can with what you got. And you have got to try your best to be, I guess I'd say be frugal. I think we're in a time right now where you really got to use your common sense. If I can give you one piece of advice, now is not the time to go on vacation and put it all on your credit card. Like, now's not the time for that shit. Now's not the time for a new set of wheels and tires because they look cool. I mean, I feel like that we're just at a time where I don't know what's going to happen. Nothing may happen. We may just keep going down this. We may just stay on this treadmill for a while. I don't know. But I just feel like we just need to all kind of do the best we can with what we got, and just hunker down and just keep working on yourself. Just keep working on your family, yourself, your finances, your business, and put your head down.
Your job, whatever, your career.
Don't listen to the noise.
Yeah, I would just say as a young person, just get smart. Get smart. Watch, listen, look at finance, look at how to better yourself, look at how to get ahead, and be aware of the situation and know what is happening, what is coming, what are projections, what you can do to set yourself up to live a good life. Because I'm just going to be honest with you. If you do go down the rabbit hole of looking where we're at right now as a young person, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to bust it. You're going to have to be a badass motherfucker. You're going to have to put your nose to the grindstone and go get it if you're going to want to set yourself up. So, and I could be wrong, but you go listen to people that'll tell you straight up, that's how it is right now. So, all I'll say is you just got to go get it. And it's like Dad said, hunker down. Don't be dumb with your money. Put your family first, put yourself first, go after what you want. And you live in the best damn country to be able to do exactly that, even though with all the crazy shit going on. So embrace it. Embrace being an American. Do what you can to change it. Do what you can to set the standard of being a great American person. And with that being said, we love you guys. We appreciate you. If you're a farmer and you're listening, good luck. Hopefully you get all your seed into the ground. We wish you a good planting season. And we'll see you back here next week for another episode.